I'm back. It's been 2 weeks and I'm finally back from vacation, and I couldn't be more excited about being out in the garage. Now, I did take a week off there, so I hope you guys were able to find your other favorite content creators on YouTube for a week, but you're back here watching Cody Builds, hopefully. What we're going to be working on is a few lingering problems that have come up since we started driving the truck. There's two issues that have really been bugging me. One, these leaking valve covers. Not an uncommon issue on these Fords. I've done all the tricks, guys. When I had these things off, I reworked the entire sealing surface, put a straight edge on them. I did the little socket trick where you knock the indentation of where these things have been bolted down way too tight back out to give yourself some positive locking surface around the bolt heads. No matter what I do, I can't get these things to seal up. And it's actually really bad back here. I've wiped this once already this morning. You can see just how much oil is coming out of the back corner of the heads, and that's what's accounting for basically this drip line right here. This is off of the bell housing of the transmission, and that might freak you out and you might think that's a rear main seal, but I actually discovered another leak on this thing. I don't think we're going to be able to tackle it today, but what I noticed when I got underneath the truck is our oil filter mount has a broken bolt on it. I don't know if that broke while we were on the road. Maybe when I torqued it down, it was just ready to split and we hit a bump in the road and jarred it loose or something. But we've got just a little bit of oil that's leaking. It's really light. It's not bad, but I believe that oil is running down the back of the pan. You've got some oil that's coming off the leaky valve covers that's running down the back of the engine, down to the bell housing and dripping off the bell housing. So I think if we fix those two leaks on the valve covers and eventually we fix that leak on the oil filter adapter mount, then we are going to resolve that issue. I'm really not concerned. The truck sat for 2 weeks, and this is what we had for wet spots. One, like I said, under the rear main seal, this giant one from the valve covers, and then we've got one little teeny tiny drip from the rear end here. And that actually was much worse. And after we've driven it, I think what we've actually done is swelled up the seals and sealed that up a little bit. So I'm not too concerned about the rear leak. I'm very concerned about the valve cover leaks here. And I think by fixing those, we'll resolve that little drip off of the bell housing. So that's number one. And number two, the next thing that's been bugging me the most here, we've got contact with the exhaust and some of the suspension components. It's just a little adjuster bar for our torque arm that I knew was going to be close. I knew it was going to be tight. I got down there, and now that everything's settled, the exhaust is basically resting right on that bracket. And when we hit big bumps, we can hear this thing making a bunch of noise. So I'm going to bounce on it here, see if we can hear it. What I'm going to have to do is set up a camera underneath the truck and jump up and down in the bed here, and then see if we can ID where the noise is coming from. I believe it is coming from the exhaust in that brace there, but I want to confirm that that's the case so that then I can go about fixing that, whether we dimple the exhaust or we rework the exhaust to be able to fit over that mount, or we drop the mount down a little bit. We got a lot of options, but we want to make sure we're fixing the right thing before we get there. So when the truck hits a really big bump in the road, we get that contact noise with the exhaust, and I want to go ahead and resolve that so we don't have that anymore, because that's really the only like non-seal related rattle that I can hear. All the other rattles and clatters and stuff are all coming from like the window seals and stuff, which we're not going to fix until probably the spring. So while we've had a lot going on here, I got some time away. I am excited to be back in the shop, and I'm excited to get to work, and that's what we're going to do right now, starting with the valve covers. I said we were going to fix our valve cover leaks. I didn't say how we were going to fix our valve cover leaks. So I've got these manufactured aluminum valve covers from CVF. Now, these are raw aluminum, and I just scuffed them and I painted them the same color that the engine block is, because I want to stick with that kind of factory-ish looking theme. Now, I know fabricated valve covers don't look very factory, but these do kind of have the shape of the originals. They don't have the Power by Ford on there, obviously, but having the thick machined aluminum lip on these, I think, is going to help seal the valve covers in the way that I need right now. I was able to pick this pair of valve covers up for less than $100. They were on sale from CVF. I don't know if they were trying to close out inventory. So right now, if you're looking for FE valve covers, maybe check out CVF. They seem to be a decent quality. There's nothing too special about them. I've got a new set of Fel-Pro cork gaskets. I've got some high-tack sealant, and of course, the breathers I had on the original valve covers weren't going to work. So I ordered some new cheap breathers from Summit. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to coat the stripe side of the gaskets And then once these tack up, we'll set the valve cover down on top of the gasket, we'll line it up with the holes, and then we'll take it over to the engine. All right, I'm a little bummed that we're getting rid of these. Boy, I did a pretty good job of getting her sealed up on the backside. There it goes. Okay. So one of the first things I'm noticing here is we've got all, you can see down here in the corners where all of our oil's leaking. Up in the front corner, I didn't have a ton actually exiting out of the valve cover, but you can see oil all the way under the gasket here. And then what I noticed was I've got these two little indentations on the front and the back. I don't know if you'll even be able to see those, but there's a flat line in there. And what that actually is that I didn't catch when I installed these, it's the tip of the intake manifold gasket where the intake and the head meets here. That little junction there could possibly be causing some problem. While I'm in here, I'm gonna go ahead and check all of the rocker arm bolts to make sure that they are still torqued to spec. We're gonna go through and just check all of the valve train here, make sure we don't have any loose components or anything that is showing excessive wear already. This all looks really good. It looks nice and clean right now, just the way we left it. So that's all a good sign. Beautiful. Perfect. All right, so I'll show you guys what I did on the other side here to kind of cut down my intake, the metal portion of my intake gasket. I wrapped up everything here with a shop towel just so we don't get any shards or anything down in there. But I also turned my die grinder here way down. This is a variable speed, so I set it down on 1, and I've got a very, very, very worn disc on this. So all I'm doing, you can see, if you look right here, you can see this nub of the gasket that's sticking up. So I'm just gonna slowly work that away until I start to see a very light grind mark. We're not really grinding into this thing, but once I see this get down flush and start to take a little bit of either the oxidation or some of this paint off of the intake side or the head side, we're gonna stop there. And we know we'll be flush. We'll do this one-handed very slowly here. So you can see very low on the speed. We're just taking away a very little bit. You can see only the gasket is bright at the moment. That means we're only grinding on the gasket. We're just gonna work that away slowly. No pressure. I'm not putting any pressure on this tool at all. I'm letting the disc do all the work. Still, only the gasket we can see has been touched. Just a little bit of patience goes a long way here. And now you can start to see where just on the edges here, I'm starting to catch that really worn out disc on the cylinder head side. So we're really not wearing, we're not grinding into anything other than just the tip of that gasket. We don't want to put any scar marks in the cylinder head or the intake. There we go. Okay. Now you can see where we just started to kiss the side of the intake there. So we got this nice and flat now. Now what I'm likely going to do when I come back to this is just put a little dab of RTV right on this joint just to be extra safe. But you can see we have no grinding marks in anything here. We only took down the tip of that intake gasket. So I just want to be extra careful when you're doing this. Take your time. Said if you have a variable speed grinder, that helps. But now we got this nice smooth transition here between the two. So I'm going to go ahead and do that on the back, and then we are basically ready to put the new valve covers onto the engine. All right, I thought about it, and I don't want to be back here in the spring chasing leaks again, so I'm just going to put a thin coat of RTV on the mating surface between the valve cover and the block and intake. been paying attention, you're probably wondering why I'm putting gasket tack back onto a brand new gasket. And I'll tell you why. I now know why these CVF valve covers were on sale at more than 50% off. And that would be because I'm gonna go out on a limb and guess they were having a hard time selling these valve covers because they don't fit. As is the life with aftermarket parts, the mounting holes for these were so far off, guys. I can't recommend buying these valve covers. I had to get in there with my Dremel and open up every single hole. The really kind of pathetic thing to me is that like I could only get 2 bolts in at any point in time, no more. I couldn't get even get 3 bolts in this thing. So it'd be one thing if it was like, oh, you can get 4 in and the 5th one's a little off or something, but no, it's the top 2 and the bottom, the bottom 2 and the top 3 holes were like shifted maybe an 1/8 inch. So all 3 of the top ones can get close to lining up, but they don't actually line up. You get the bottom 2 to line up, or you could get a combination of any 2 others, but you could never get more than that lined up. So I got the Dremel out, I opened up all the holes, but that ruined the gasket that was on there, and so then I had to run to the parts store and get another gasket, and I'm not gonna lie, that's very frustrating to me. I usually hold my cool pretty well on this channel. I think you guys know that. I'm fairly level-headed. I don't get too fired up about things. I had to walk away from this one. I'm very angry, to be honest. I was very angry that the quality of these is so bad because it's not just the bolt holes that don't line up, also the baffles hit on the rocker arm shafts. So then I had to bash the baffles in, and now we're just going to hope and pray that they don't contact the rockers. I did get an extra set of valve cover gaskets, so if I need to, I can swap the old valve covers back on. I don't really want to do that right now. It's really frustrating to get brand new parts and have them be this bad. And I've modified them now, so I can't return them, which is what it is. It's for the 98 bucks, 90 bucks, whatever it was. I'd spend more money returning them and whatever else. So it's frustrating. This is the frustration of aftermarket parts. I filmed a little clip and I went on a little bit of a rant about the company, and I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to put that in because, one, it's not exactly fair to them because I haven't reached back out to see if they would actually help me. And two, you know, I bought these things at a huge discount. You can't even buy the cheap Chinese ones off of eBay for that much money, so I should have known they probably are the same or similar vendor that makes the same valve covers that you can buy for dirt cheap on eBay, and then they just redistribute them. But what I will say is that this is now the second time I've had good new parts from CVF that did not work, and you know, that's kind of a strike 2 situation for them, and I don't usually let companies get to strike 3 with me. So that's unfortunate. I'm really disappointed, to be honest, but it is what it is. So we're gonna let this tack up. You guys see how much, I don't know, you probably won't be able to really tell how much these are wallered out, but some of these bolts, like, they're gonna ride up on the welds of these manufactured valve covers because that's how far off they are. That's how far off the whole thing is. Like, I don't even understand how one side could be good and the other side could be that bad. You'd think these are all templated. I don't know, maybe they got some warpage when they welded it or something. So we'll see. We'll get this back together. Hopefully that'll be the end of this saga for a while. Eventually I will replace these valve covers yet again because I'm not exactly thrilled with the quality. If they stay sealed, they stay sealed, great. We'll keep them for a while. But if not, then obviously we're gonna have to find another solution. On a more positive note, while that tacks up, I was messing around with the back and I found my noise, and it's not my exhaust. It's actually a very simple fix. I'm gonna take you guys up under the truck and show you. All right, we are under the truck. This is the fuel cell here. This right here is our sway bar, rear sway bar. The bolt that I put in for the gas tank here is hitting the sway bar every time the suspension cycles. That's the noise that we're hearing. I can feel the witness mark on the top of the sway bar. So all I need to do is get in here with a cutoff wheel and cut the bottom of this bolt off. That should fix our problem. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that now. That's a very simple fix that will resolve that nasty knocking noise we're getting in the back end. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that now. Just everything is more difficult now with the truck completed and the brake system here. Trying to get things lined up, and pretty much 3 of the 5 bolts have to be lined up blind. And you'd think once you got 1 or 2 of them lined up, it'd be easier, but it doesn't seem to be the case with this crappy valve cover. Man, I tell you what, I had this all lined up once, and now I can't get anything lined up again. This is so frustrating. Son of a gun. This is just the worst. Safe to say, I don't recommend anyone buy these. This is ridiculous. I've never had a valve cover install take 4 hours before. I can't get anything to line up. I've already opened these holes up significantly, and I still can't get bolts started. I've got everything loose, no matter which way I work this thing. I can't get that back bolt in, so I'm gonna have to take the front bolt out so I can get the back bolt in, and then see if I can pry this valve cover forward, which is really how you want to do it. I got the bottom 2 in. Those historically here have been the 2 most difficult to get in. I got those lined out, but now I can't get anything else in. At this point, I don't even care if it cross threads. I just get in there. Just get in, get started. Get in the hole. Too good for your home? All right, little tech tip, guys. You got a camera in your pocket at all times. So when you something you can't see, take a video. Okay, we're gonna take a video of what's going on back here. Which direction we need to go to get this thing lined up. And then you can play back your video and figure out exactly what you're up against. Oh boy, there is all kinds of crap down in that hole now. I really can't tell what's going on. I honestly don't know if I would waller the holes out in much more than they already are. Like, if I were to take them out larger, too much larger. One, I don't think I physically can, because they're up against the welds. All right, guys, 5 hours later, we are right back where we started, and I took those valve covers and I put them into storage where, just in case if we ever need them again, and they will stay there until the garbage man comes later this week. I'm over it. I'm done with them. We're leaving it at that. They're not helping us solve our problem today, and they were cheap. They have proven to be cheap. They've proven to be not worth any more of my time and effort. So that's the reality here, guys. This is a very real one this week. Typically don't have these types of issues and these little, like, I don't get mad at big problems. I get upset at little avoidable problems. That is a totally avoidable problem, and it is really, really frustrating. Not a good way to win me over as a customer. So where does that leave us? I want to use this truck. I don't want to sit here for another week waiting for new valve covers to show up. So we are going to work on the old ones yet again, one more time. I'm going to try and bang these out, see if we can't get them to seal just a little bit better. I did not use RTV on the engine side last time, so we'll try that this time. We'll actually try. I can see that I got good contact. I didn't everywhere except in the corners. I can see that I wasn't really compressing the gasket in the corners much. So you can see the nice ridge line here all the way across and all the way up and over, all the way down this side, and then it's completely gone in these corners. So we'll really focus on these back corners and what we can do to improve the sealing surface there, if anything, and then we'll RTV the crap out of these things. Well, we won't overdo it, but we will RTV them this time and see if we can't get them to seal. All right, last task of the day. We need to adjust the headlights on this thing. I'm going to drive this truck tonight, and we have not yet adjusted the headlights. So, show you a quick, easy way to do this. Push the vehicle as close to the wall as you can now. I've left myself a little bit of room to work here, but what I've done is I measured the height to the center of the highlights down to the ground, and I've marked the center of where the beam should be vertically. So what you see here is my mark at 23 inches high, and then the side-to-side horizontal center line. So I've done that on both sides, okay? So I got a mark over there as well. You can see that that side is well below where our tape and our mark is already, and I kind of knew that already. So what I'm gonna do next is I'm gonna push the truck back 25 feet from this wall, and we're gonna try and angle the headlights in a way that they hit those centered marks. So quick, easy way to adjust the headlights, that's what we're gonna do. So I knew my headlights were hitting low because I could see them out in front of me. So you can see here, we're not even registering really on the wall, just a very little bit there. So we got to bring these headlights up pretty significantly from where they're at now. So I'm going to make those adjustments on the lights, and then that's going to do it for today. Instead of the headlights being all the way down on the floor, we've got them fairly close now. So not exactly perfect, but I'm struggling with one of the adjusters there. It actually took me hostage, pinched my hand in there. It's been one of those days. I'm ready to be done for today. All right, after a day of extreme frustration messing around with those valve covers, I was able to sneak out the next day and wash this thing up. It was one of the last warm days we're gonna have this year. Didn't really detail it, but I did go ahead and clean up the wheels, give this thing just a wash and a wipe down, and it looks so much better when it's clean. It's a patina truck, it's rough, it's beat up, but when this truck's dirty, you lose a lot. Any of the little bit of shine that we pulled out of this quickly fades away. So when it's clean though, it looks darn good. I'm just so happy with how the paint turned out on this thing. It's one of those things I just did not anticipate at all for this truck. So really excited about that. So I did get to put a few miles on the truck, drove it around a little bit over the weekend. We've mostly resolved the valve cover issues with that little bit of RTV on the new gaskets. Not 100% sure that it's fully resolved. We're still getting just like a little tiny bit of seepage, but I don't even know if it's enough to cause it to drip down the back of the engine. So what I need to do at some point is get down there and get everything, get all that oil wiped off, because we still have a little spot under the bell housing and one very small spot on the right side of the truck. We had those big drips down the right side before. Those are mostly gone. So I'm guessing that's residual oil that's just been dripping off the chassis a little bit. So I do want to get under there at some point and clean that up. I'm not going to worry about that tonight. Really happy with the console. Pop the door open here. One of the things I'm most excited about with that console is just how kind of seamlessly it blends in with the cab. It's just got that little bit of chrome trim that matches the chrome on the dash and on the door panels. Like I said, my one complaint about it is that, like, if we're going into second gear here, I'll just show you guys. If I'm going into second gear, it just touches the shifter. So if we're doing anything aggressive in the truck, we'll probably take the console out. But for regular cruising, I think I can work around that. It was 80 or 90 bucks on Amazon, so really not too bad at all, considering I've seen other variants out there for as much as 250 bucks. What are we working on tonight? I really want to get the tailgate working. We're going to be using Ellsworth, actually, not just enjoying him, but we're actually going to be putting him to work over the holiday weekend, and we're going to be hauling some heavy stuff back up to my shop here. So I want the tailgate to be able to function, and right now it does not. I've had it latched, but the latches are way out of alignment, and the issue was I couldn't get the pin pulled back far enough on this side to release the tailgate. So it was actually stuck upright. I've already gone ahead and got that released. We're gonna see what we can do tonight. We're gonna see if we can't space these latches up a little bit and get them working a little better. So my problem with this tailgate is kind of twofold. Down here, you can see the pin down in here. I've replaced the internal rods and stuff, and this one actually came unhooked, probably from me getting overly aggressive with it. But the problem I have is when I pull this one, when it is hooked up, the pin doesn't come far enough to release itself from the latch here. So the pin is constantly stuck like that. And then once I am able to get that like pushed back in and to release, it disconnects the rod on the tailgate latch. Now on this side, I'm having quite a different problem. You can see how much contact is made here where this is all rusty. The problem I'm having on this side is that it's too tight, and it's actually was hitting on the inside of the tailgate here. Now this tailgate's very rough. I do have this piece of trim we never put back on. We may or may not tonight get to this. All of the mounting locations are rusted out badly on this. So we're gonna have to patch these in some way, whether we have to make new little brackets to weld on, or we can patch these up and reinforce them a little bit. I'm not gonna go too crazy because, again, the trim is very rough. The tailgate's very rough. It kind of is what it is at this point. But I would like to get this piece of trim back on the truck because it was originally on the truck. So first things first, we need to reconnect the rod in our tailgate latch here. So we're gonna pull these 3 bolts out of the tailgate latch mechanism. And with our mechanism drop down, you can see that this upper rod up here is completely detached from our mechanism. We're gonna get that pushed back into its proper location. Okay, so we got that pushed back up into location, and now we should be able to reline up our latch now and get that bolted back in. Right now over here, you should be able to see this pin move when I pull the latch. You should be able to see the pin go in and out. So in inspecting this, when the tailgate goes up, what I noticed is that my gaps are a lot tighter towards the top of the tailgate than they are at the bottom. And we have to consider that when I was taking this bed on and off the truck while we were building it, I was lifting from the 4 corners with nothing between the bed rails. So up there, obviously we have the header panel that doesn't allow the stake pockets to necessarily collapse or the bed sides to collapse. No tailgate on the bed back here. What I believe happened is we've moved these stake pockets in slightly on each side at the top. Is my jack handle off my jack. We are gonna stick this down in the bed pocket, and this is where having a patina truck is just a lovely thing, because I'm gonna grab the top of that jack handle. I'm just gonna pry this. This has gotta be one of the biggest farm fixes we've done on this truck yet. Yeah, okay, so you can see, like, when I talk about spring back, look how much that panel moves, right? I'm not actually physically bending this out at the moment. That's just the spring that we're getting in this top rail. So I'm gonna get it out past its spring, and I'm just gonna give it a little yank. I do that one more time. I actually felt it give a little bit. So let's pull this out and see if the tailgate will close. Oh yeah, this is much better. Well, this might actually work. Yes. Well, that was a way easier fix than I was anticipating. All right, one last thing I feel like I should point out on tailgate adjustment, because there is a way to adjust the latches in this, and I knew that, but I also knew that because I'd had it loose already once. If you loosen up these 2 screws that are here, there's 2 big screws there. You can actually see them down through the stake pocket. So if yours are rusty, you can actually hit them with a little bit of PB Blaster or penetrating oil and break these loose. And then you get a small amount of side to side and up to down play on this. Now, because I had already previously broken these loose, I knew we were adjusted all the way as far as we could be adjusted out on this one, and it was still hitting the tailgate. That's how I knew this was bent. So I did want to go back and circle back and touch on that. Not, the only way to adjust these is not just bending out the stake pockets, but you should try that first. I want to make that point. And if that doesn't work, then go to more drastic measures. But I did end up adjusting this down a little bit, because what was happening when I latched the tailgate, I could pull on this side and I could pull the pin out of the latch. And what was happening was it actually wasn't latching. The pin and the latch were misaligned. And I think the pin, when it's spring loaded, so it slides into a pocket, right? And then can't pull backwards. I think what was happening was that latch was a little high. So the spring, the spring loaded pin was never getting into that window. It was sitting on the outside, and then you'd pull on the corner of the tailgate and it would pop loose and the tailgate would come out. So I dropped that latch down just a hair so that now that pin can actually slide into that window. And now tailgate secured. So, and it actually closes super easy. You can do it one-handed there. We got it aligned up pretty nicely. So yeah, that's pretty much it as far as the tailgate alignment goes. You can play around with both the hinge pins down there. You get a little bit of play in those. You don't get much play in the 3 bolts and the latch mechanism here on these old Fords, but you can adjust that a little bit, a very, very tiny little bit. Most of your adjustment is going to come in your hinges and your hinge pins down here and in your latch there. This piece of trim is aluminum. However, it's got a steel backer in it that's kind of, the aluminum is folded over the top of. You can see the aluminum's crimped over this steel piece in here. And then you've got these little steel brackets that sit inside of the recess of the tailgate. And then you put your bolt in through the backside of the tailgate into these brackets. Now, these things are all but gone. There's 2 completely missing. This side's completely missing on this one. This one's about 60% gone. The back side of this one's about 50% gone, and the entire side of this one is gone. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna cut out a couple templates here to make these brackets. We're just gonna bend a couple out of some sheet metal. We're gonna cut these off right at the joint, and I'm just gonna make some simple 2-bend brackets. So we're not gonna put the feet on there. But we are going to have the side, the top, and then down. And then right in the center, instead of using these little clips and some crappy screws, we're actually going to put riv nuts in the center of these. So we'll mark all of those for the center, and then we'll be able to put a machine screw through the back side. Something a little bit nice, hold a little bit better than those screws do, which eventually break off. Yeah, if I go right to where the bend is on these and tack them in there, those are going to be perfect size. So all I got to do now is cut up 5 of these, wait, 6 of these? Yeah, 6 of these, and bend them up, and then we'll get this piece cleaned up. Okay, you can see we got a 90 and then kind of an angled side here. And if I grab my piece of trim, you can see the exact same thing. Just look at that. So these guys are going to replace these cutout pieces. Something like that. So we'll go ahead, now that I've got all these bent up, we'll get these removed and we'll clean this whole thing up. That way we've got some clean metal to weld these to. And then I will tack these in. I'm not gonna full-blown weld them. I'm just gonna probably put 3 tacks on each foot. And then we'll mock this thing up on the tailgate, and I'll actually use the holes in the tailgate to mark where exactly we're gonna put our riv nuts. That way we can get good alignment on this panel when it goes in. We're not just guessing at where the holes need to go. right, got the trim on there. I like the way that trim looks. I think it looks so much better with that on there, even if it is old and beat up. It covers up a little bit of the crust in the tailgate. I still got to figure out something for a rear bumper. I don't like it with no bumper, so we're gonna have to do roll pan or something on the back. I want something that's not gonna stick way out. The step bumper that was on there was huge. One thought I had was maybe we narrow and section that step bumper and actually put it back on the truck, but kind of more recessed and tucked up into the truck so it doesn't look quite so bad. It's one thought I had. We still have the bumper. I haven't done anything with it yet. I mean, how great is this? I think, honestly, that's probably the first time this tailgate has been functioning in, I'm going to say, over 30 years, because we know we're about 28 years. We're going on about 28 years since this truck was parked, and this tailgate didn't work for years before it was parked. It always kind of flopped around. It always wanted to come unhooked on the one side. I do remember that. And then you never could get the dang thing to latch. So we've got that all fixed, which is great. I love having a functional tailgate. Good morning, everybody. It's a new day. We got the tailgate fixed the other night, and this morning we are going to finish off the last of the major things I want to tick off. We don't have a radiator overflow, and right now when this thing gets hot, and I say hot, it's only ever hit, like, I've seen it go above 200 like maybe once. It touches 205, maybe 202, 203, and as soon as you're moving, I mean, that's a stop, dead stop. As soon as you're moving, the thing drops right back down to like 190. So it tends to want to run between 190 and 200 for the most part. But when it gets warm, two problems I think I'm having. One, this is that eBay radiator. Cheap. It's not a Champion even. If you look at the radiator cap here, it's got a lot of Chinese on it. Danger warning. So I think this is just a cheap cap for one. I have no idea what the spring is rated for on that. So I went ahead and got a new radiator cap. We're gonna throw that on. So what's happening, I think, is when it does get warm and the coolant expands, it drips a little bit out of the overflow that hits the top tank there and kind of boils off, and I can smell the antifreeze. And I don't really like that. It freaks me out a little bit every time because the truck is still fairly new. So anytime I can smell antifreeze burning, I think the worst possible situation. So we're gonna top the radiator off and we're gonna put an overflow / recovery tank on. So I went back and forth on what I actually wanted to do on this overflow tank, whether I wanted to just buy one, a black one, and just have it kind of disappear under there, or what. This truck's not really a rat rod, but I've always kind of liked the whiskey bottle idea. And Elijah Craig small batch is kind of just like my go-to bourbon, just around the house. Nothing fancy. I'm gonna make a mount for this. It's gonna be really minimally intrusive. So if we hate it, don't like it, doesn't fit in, we can get rid of it. But let me show you guys what I'm thinking here. So what I'm presently thinking is I wanna put this up on the firewall here at an angle like this. I don't really have room for it here. I could put it on the other side, but then I have to route my hose around the neck and back around. I kind of like it at this angle, keep it at the same angle as the firewall or as the core support runs here, something like that. So that's what I'm thinking right now. Like I said, we want this as minimally intrusive as possible. So this is gonna be basically a 2-bracket design. So my idea here is pretty simple, pretty straightforward. We just got this bracket here that's gonna bend up with a bolt tab on the back side. So, and then there will be a little bit, I didn't make the lip big enough on this CAD model here. The funny thing is I'm actually trying to learn CAD in 2026 for our Sweet Pea project. But for now we're doing the old school CAD, the original CAD. So this will be bent to the shape of the bottle, and then there will be a little bit of a lip on the front of this. I'll probably have to make this in a separate piece because it's really hard to bend a short run over a long bend. That's actually really difficult to do, so I may end up just cutting that little piece to put a lip on the front of this so that when this sits down in this bracket like this, you'll basically have a lip across the front to hold the bottle in place, and then this bolt tab in the back. So that'll hold the bottle in place from the bottom, and then from the top we're going to take this round rod, and I think I'm going to bend this around the neck and figure out how to mount this. What I'm either going to do is just take a piece of flat tab, basically weld this or bend this in a U shape around the neck, weld it to a flat tab on the back side, which will then either have a nutsert in it, or we can run a bolt through it or weld a stud on it. We are going to rubber line the bottom bracket here so we don't break the bottle. That's one concern. That's the initial idea I have. Let's get to putting it together, see if this is going to work. I just like these little unique individual touches, and this is kind of rat roddy when the truck's not really a rat rod. It's kind of the same idea as like the saw box and the wood headliner, just little custom touches that other people aren't going to have on their truck that kind of makes it stand out a little bit. And I like that. You know, I'm not like a real heavy drinker or anything, but lately, as I get older, when I do drink, I usually go for a glass of bourbon. And since this happens to be one of my favorites, as far as just the cheap bourbon goes, I kind of like the idea of putting it on there. Can't put anything too classy on this truck. It is just an old work truck after all. All right, I had the right idea, but the wrong execution here. I tried heating this and bending it in the vise, and because we're using 3/16, because that's what I have, this is definitely overkill for this, but I don't have anything thinner than that in flat stock. I just wasn't able to get as sharp of a bend as I wanted, and that was gonna make the bracket too short. So I hammered this thing back out straight. We're actually gonna just cut this and re-weld it each side at the angles we want. So we'll cut each side off, and then we'll cut a strip for the front, and we'll weld all that up. All right, so this is our lower bracket. It's looking really good. I picked up some of these self-adhesive anti-skid pads from Ace. It's like a little rubberized coating. I haven't stuck them in yet because I want to paint this first. But look at that, that's gonna be so perfect. It's just gonna rubber coat the whole inside of that, and then our bottle will fit nice and snug down in there. I did account for some type of cushioning in there, but I mean, look how it actually like friction fits in there. Which is going to be perfect. So it's going to hold that nice and tight. We're not going to have any rattles on the bottom side. So the next thing we need to figure out is the top neck mount here and see what we're going to do about that. And I'm really happy with how that turned out. It's going to be a single bolt in the bottom there. Like I said, I think I want to bend some of that round rod around the neck here. So I'm going to start there and see what we think. This is really starting to come together now. So you see I got the bottom bracket here, and then this top we figured out. We basically just made our own perfectly sized U-bolt, cut the threads for that, and then what I'm going to do is on the back side of this, I'm going to take this bolt and we're going to weld that right to the center of that flange there. Should be a nice 2-bolt clean install. I did put another piece of foam on the back side of this flange, and I'm going to shrink wrap the U-bolt as well, just to clean the look up and also soften up the metal on glass here. So there will not technically be any metal actually touching the glass. It'll all be foam on glass. I think it's going to keep it nice and secure and safe. If it doesn't, we'll reevaluate. And if it breaks, now we've got an easy way to get it out. It's just a simple 2 bolts and we'll have this thing off and we can replace it. The thing that I most wanted was for this to not look too cobbled together, right? We said we're not doing a rat rod here. I figured I could pull this off if the mounting and everything is super clean, and mostly what you're going to see is the bottle and not the brackets, because this is all going to get painted satin black as well. I think this is really cool. I have a couple cool ideas for the hose as well to really kind of clean that up and make that look sharp as well. All right, so I got a little test fit going here, and I was really concerned about how much capacity we were gonna lose storing this thing at an angle. And I had second thoughts about it for a second, and then what I did was I actually filled this with water. And I'm gonna pull it off and I'll show you guys. I'm not over spilling at all. I'm not spilling at all yet. I'm gonna pull this off real quick and I'll show you how much actual capacity we've lost in here. It's not hardly anything. So there you have it. That's all the capacity we've lost out of this by tipping it at an angle. I can live with that. That's still plenty of overflow, I believe. So what I'm gonna do now, I'm gonna go ahead and get the lower bracket marked where we need to drill the firewall. Then we're gonna get everything painted up and we can get this thing mounted up for good and start running the hoses. All right, let me show you guys what I got going for the hose setup here. So I got my tubing on here and I've got it run through. You saw I drilled out the cap here. We had to get rid of the cork because the cork wasn't gonna work. So what I did was I cut a larger piece of heater hose that's gonna sit in the neck of the bottle right there. And that allows this tube to slip in. And so that's gonna slide in. It's a nice kind of snug fit on there. And then we just push our cap down tight. And then what I'm gonna do on the top side here, I'm gonna cover this in black sheathing, and we're gonna do some shrink wrap up here and down here, and that should help keep this cap at this height down here. The other thing that I did on the inside of this is, you see I cut that hose at 2 angles. That way, no matter how it falls down in the bottom of this jug, it won't be able to suction itself to the bottle and lose suction of the coolant back into the tank when this thing cools down. So the next and final steps here really are just to finish up these hoses and get my hose clamp put on. I did drill a couple vent holes in the top of the cap here, but also with this being basically loose in here, if it does generate pressure, it'll probably only just pop that cap up just a hair. We could actually get our heater hose pushed down just a little bit more, so that just kind of naturally wants to sit right there. So yeah, I don't know, what do you guys think? I think it actually turned out pretty darn clean. It's going to look a lot better once I get the sheathing on here as well. pretty much all of the major items ticked off at this point. Now it's time to have a little bit of fun, figure out what we're gonna break, and start fixing the things that we break. This is where the rubber meets the road, and we finally get to have a little bit of fun. And that's going to be it for this episode, guys. I appreciate all of you watching, subscribing, liking the videos. It means a lot to me. We just continue to grow this channel, and that's such a cool thing. So thank you guys all for watching. And as always, guys, remember, if you don't work on your projects, they will not work on themselves. Get out in the garage, get building, and I'll see you on the next episode of Cody Builds.